Hey folks, finally Mini have solved the issues with the current Mini Cooper, namely the battery size, and I'm really keen to talk with you about it. Coincidentally, I do have another video driving one. It was the older version of the Mini, I think it was 2016 or 17, that model, and I think the battery size is a 30 kilowatt hour version of that. I loved driving it, and I only had it for one day, and I also spent a couple of days with the John Cooper Works petrol version, and they're both fantastic. I totally understand why people love them. So let's go into the details and I'll give you my take. Because I'm sure if you're thinking about the Mini and you're keen to go and test drive one, then you actually must go and drive one. There isn't another EV like it, as far as I can see. Thank you very much for joining me. It's super nice to see so many people joining and subscribing to the channel, watching my videos. I'm Ben Alexander and I talk about the latest EV news from around the world, and I make videos every single day, so please stick around until the end and then let me know your thoughts, whatever they are, in the comments at the end. I've also spent a fair bit of time in some original Minis too from the olden days, and I honestly think that they've definitely engineered in that feeling, that sense of a go-kart in the new Minis, and I know that they're much bigger, much heavier, and in comparison to other modern cars, the Mini definitely does feel different to other EVs. It definitely is the one that feels just go-karty, so that's pretty cool. You'll definitely get that sense. I did note a slight lack of grip though, but nothing ridiculous. As it is today, the biggest batteries that you can get in the Mini EV, the Mini Cooper EV, are still too small, 32.6 kilowatt hour, but they did just announce that they're going to make the batteries 66% larger. So that takes the range from what they say was 233 kilometers to 386 kilometers, so that's much more like it. I do remember driving around the UK in the Mini, and I think it was sufficiently good for most people, for most drives that you'll ever have on a daily basis. But now with the bigger range, it will actually be something that I can recommend. So 239 miles is what they're claiming you'll get with the more expensive version. We'll get to the price in a second. You'll definitely be seeing 200 if you drive steady up and down the motorways, no question about that. But when you use the heater and the air conditioning, you'll lose a little bit, I reckon. So it might not see 200 if you are using a lot of heater and that sort of thing. But it's big enough that I think you can enjoy it, and you can enjoy the country roads, do all of your driving without stressing about the battery charge, whilst not feeling super heavy. Because the one I drove, 30 kilowatt hour, that really didn't feel heavy. I do think some people will disagree though, I'm pretty sure, but I think relative to most modern cars, it's all right. I think it's not like a heavy little car, but I think it's just that the Mini doesn't come with big enough tyres. I think that's what the issue was for me, and there was a lot of talks here. The new Mini from next year will come with either a 40 kilowatt hour battery or 54 kilowatt hour battery, and you will only have the choice of front wheel drive, that's it, either 135 or 160 kilowatts, which is 185 horsepower or 215 horsepower. If you get the faster John Cooper Works version, then there's supposed to be a 250 horsepower version coming out, but that's not actually confirmed. The more expensive SE version of the non-John Cooper Works version, I hope you're following, with the 54 kilowatt hour battery and 215 horsepower, is going to be a little bit expensive, although we don't actually know the price of it. I would expect the John Cooper Works version to have 250 horsepower though. That's what I expect, you know. We've seen the John Cooper Works version in camouflage, so we just don't have any of the specs at all, but it's most certainly going to have a decent bit of power and the bigger battery, of course. And if it's 250 horsepower at the front wheels, then I think it's going to be hardly faster 0 to 100, for example, than 185 horsepower version, simply because there was a huge distinct lack of grip. Maybe they just put rubbish tyres on it. I don't remember what brand they did put on there. And they were reasonably wide, but not super wide, and definitely not wide enough. I did remember getting a very strong sense of torque steer. And that was only 185 horsepower, and I don't remember what the torque actually was. And I liked it, and I think it added a sense of fun to it, so that's okay. It would have been better, obviously, if it was a four-wheel drive version, or maybe rear-wheel drive, which is kind of a bit weird for a Mini to be rear-wheel drive, I suppose. Front-wheel drive rarely feel better for handling. And much like the Honda E, putting the motor in the back is a really great idea for weight distribution, for handling, for acceleration, just for general feel. It just feels more right, I think. And a lot of people are commenting about the MG4 in the UK and how it's just set up really, really well for UK roads. And also the motor in the back feels really, really good. And what is surprising is that the 185 horsepower or so Mini that I drove, it actually felt fast, like genuinely like a hot hatch. But I do think the motor should be at the rear, or they should spend some money and make it four-wheel drive. The outside obviously looks quite different than in their new version that's going to be coming out. I think quite nice, and it's hard to improve on what I think was already a solid looking car. And you can really see it's a finessed product, isn't it? So they've made changes, and the inside now only has the one big screen in the middle, and it's a large edge-to-edge OLED screen. So this will contain everything that you could need in it, apparently, is what they say. Interestingly, the last internal combustion engined Mini will be sold or will be produced in 2025, and by 2027, this is what they say, these are strange numbers, but I'm sure they know what they're talking about. And by 2027, they expect half of the Mini sales to be EVs, and so there's probably some floating around on a boat somewhere, and then 100% by 2030, which in the UK is the deadline until you can only register an electric vehicle in the UK. So definitely no diesels, no petrols, nothing. The UK is a really, really great place to own an EV because it's not massive. It's not a massive country, and there apparently, so they say, will be 10 times more electric chargers in the UK by 2030. That's from the government. The UK government put that on their website. So I don't know if they're going to start spending some money. The Minis don't usually come cheap. It's a bit expensive, bit of a premium sort of car. Definitely feels premium. UK pricing is expected to start at 32,000 British pounds for the base version, which is about 32,000 euro. As someone asked me to start mentioning the euro price, I will now start mentioning the euro price because it's very handy, I think, isn't it? In Australia, about $54,000 for the base version, and then these prices are literally just for the base version. The more expensive versions will jump that up to quite a bit more, so it's definitely a treat, I think, for most people, even to get the base version. I can tell you that if you test drive it, you will like it, but you will not be happy about paying the money, most likely. I think that's what I'd be thinking. This is a lot of money. Really nice product. I really like this car, but do I want to spend $50,000 or $60,000 at the door on this car? So I wouldn't say that the Mini is the sort of car you'd want to do a long out-of-state 2 or 3 day drive in, but I think you could enjoy it for a good day. It is comfortable, but it's a bit sporty, and maybe the standard version would be less sporty, but the one I drove was the standard version, and that was still a bit sporty feeling, so I'm not sure. I think it's inherent in the design of the Mini. I definitely feel like they've engineered in the go-kartness of this. Remember that I've got a couple of videos on the Mini. One of them was a general review and a drive around, and the other one was like a point of view camera on my head driving around. So they're both pretty cool. I watched both of them recently, again, just for when I was researching and making notes on this video, and it was great. It was a really great day to make those videos. I really enjoyed them. If you enjoyed the video, please consider clicking the like button for me so that YouTube know that people enjoy my videos, and subscribe for more daily videos about electric vehicles.